Ian, how you doing today, sweetheart?
Wonderful.
You had a good weekend?
Yeah, for sure.
Good. What you want to do with your hair today?
Let's do like medium skin, fade, little texture on top.
Good. I'll go real tight down on the temple.
Yeah.
Then we'll just mess up what you have on top because that length's looking pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Bring in these sides just a little bit and add some more texture. We'll try to make this where it really wants to push down, help it push up so you can have more texture, a little more even texture everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And then what about this? Let me shave that beard off today, will it? Can we do that?
Yeah.
You might as well, right?
Yeah, take it off.
Dude, just a mustache, right?
Yeah.
You feel like just a mustache today? I was gonna do it anyway, whether you let me do it or not. So I think just a mustache.
Clipper slit.
You look accidentally. I'm gonna accidentally give you a mustache if you said no. All right, good.
It's a reverse psychology.
Okay, so on Ian today, we're gonna do a real nice tight taper. We're gonna go down to skin, and then we're gonna take this beard completely off to stubble, so it'll be an OA. We'll just use a no guard on our clippers. We'll go real tight around the perimeter. Just do a nice light fade up, do some texture on top. We'll take off about probably like a ½ an inch with lots of point cuts and texture. Knock this calic down a little bit, just so we have a super easy, no product necessary style on Ian today, I think is what we'll do, and we'll leave a mustache. Okay, so I just start always first on the top. I know exactly how much I'm gonna take off, and I like to give myself a little bit of a guide around the parietal. So I have a guide to lead up from the clippers to know where I want to stop, to then lead up to all the hair already cut on top. So I always start on the top. So wet the hair down, make sure all the hat heads off. Make sure all the product's out before we start so you get a nice clean cut. Do a horseshoe shape parting, and basically that horseshoe shape parting, you can put your comb up against your client's scalp, and wherever that comb starts to separate is where the head shape is fatter and then on the bottom, and then starts to lean in towards the top, and that's where we want to disconnect the clipper work from the shear work. So that's where we'll put our horseshoe shape parting, just to kind of separate the top hair from the bottom hair. So first step, I'm just gonna go around and I'll start in the back, and I'll make sure I'm pulling the hair out to where I want it to drop down to the clipper work, which is about right there. So I'll take off a good ½ an inch, which also makes sense. That's about what we said we wanted to take off the top. So when you're doing a haircut, after you do your consultation with your client, the measurement should kind of start to add up all over the place. A ½ inch comes off here, a half inch comes off there. And it just starts to line up naturally because you've got the measurements right from the get. And you'll see I'm just following, pulling that hair straight out from its origin, following all the way around, creating that guide. And this guide will help me bring all this hair over when we're there, and it'll also help me to tell me where I want to stop that clipper work. So I just go from the center to the right, and then center to the left. And the previously cut section is my guide for the next section to cut. You can see here that was already shorter, so you can already see, following my guide, I almost have nothing to take off towards the left. So it's so important that you have confidence in the guides that you're putting in the hair, especially if you didn't cut the previous haircut. You just never know. And even if you did cut the previous haircut, you never know how off you were that day. So always be okay and trust those guides that you're setting. So the point of origin of the hair is where the root is. So even though this hair lays over here, its point of origin is all the way over here. So Right now, I'm gonna separate down the middle. I wanna start cutting the top. So I'm gonna separate down the middle. So all of these little points of origin are going as flat out as possible to my guide. So there's no elevation. If we start elevating the hair, that's when we start to add and take away length that we might necessarily want. So I want it to be as straight, flat out as possible, all the way to my guide that I just created. There's not too much coming off, but I'm just gonna pull it all the way out and make sure that it's even with my first guide I put in. I'll work that all the way around. All of this hair and my bottom guide are all equal to each other. When I pull this up to either side, you'll see both guides on both sides that I've created. So you have this guide. When you work way over here, you have this guide, and that gives us about the 1/2 inch we said we wanted to take off, and you have 2 really strong guides to cut to. And then I just work it down the middle from one side to the next. What up, Benny?
What the hell's going on back here?
How you doing, bud?
You cheating on me, dude?
He's cheating on you.
Yeah, man.
Hey, the haircut you did was...
last haircut, dude.
Mind your business. I was just gonna say the last haircut that he got is perfect. Didn't I just say that? Perfect.
No.
Said it's off.
Said it's off.
You don't know how
Said you don't know
off
how
Benny-
off Benny is that, dude.
I said you don't know how off you were the next haircut. The boy's lopsided, am I right? He goes like this. Your mom didn't do this after you came out of her over and over again. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to mold you're supposed to mold your head, baby's
They didn't give
head.
you one of them little helmets.
They did you the claw. They pulled you out with the claw only on one side.
They forgot to send home one of them little plastic helmets.
Oh, they didn't do plastic helmets back in our day. We're just fucked.
Ian still got one of them helmets he's supposed to wear.
And it ain't because it's head shape, right? We're using point cuts here because we want to add texture. So whilst you're cutting the hair, you might as well add the texture at the same time as you're taking off the length. Just makes your job easier in the end. We'll bring all this hair down to 0 degrees, make sure we're even down here. And we'll finish and detail this in the end, but we're just making sure our lengths are starting to match up. I think it's real important, especially while you're cutting your clients, to make sure you're blow drying or wiping off their face every time you start cutting in their face so they're comfortable throughout the haircut. And then less hair you have to get off at the end. I think that's real important to make sure you have your clients leave with no hair on them. Most of the time they're going back to work, so just like one of those easy things you could do that's real difficult for them. I like to put a little sea salt spray in the hair before I start to blow dry it. I'm gonna get this hair nice and dry before I start my clipper work. Do all shear work wet, all clipper work dry. Very important that you're doing your clipper work dry. My playlist is good today, ain't it?
It's pretty good.
It's been a minute since we did Country Monday. I've been crying about it. Needs to.